Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Ulysse Nardin Freak Cruiser. This is the, well, not exactly the latest generation Freak, but in a way it is. And the reason I'm hesitant to say that is that it doesn't necessarily make some of the older versions of the Freak obsolete, or it doesn't mean they're not being made anymore. It's just it's a different version, but it happens to be probably my my favorite version of the Freak, and that's something I've said before. So if you don't know the Freak, you really should. This is a watch that's taken a couple of years to sort of grow on me, but I really enjoy it now. It came out about 2000, 2001. And it was the first watch, I believe, the first production watch to make use of silicon parts. Sometimes the watch industry says silicium because that's the French term. But silicon is really the material that has revolutionized a lot of watch movement making. And at the time when Ulysse Nardin first came out, with the Freak, they called it that, first of all, because it looks so weird. Also because, you know, they were kind of ridiculed in a way because they were using this material for movements that wasn't metal, and people said that they're crazy, that it was stupid, that it wasn't a good idea. And now you have a lot of very high-end watches from Patek Philippe and Rolex and Breguet that have silicon parts, such as the balance springs and things like that. So in a lot of ways, the Freak was quite revolutionary in what it did. And one of the ways it worked is the movement, essentially, a big part of the movement is the minute hand. So you can see the escapement there operating. And I'm moving it around because the silicon looks different in different shades of light. You can see some of those purples and blues. Those are those silicon parts there. I believe this one has a double escapement, which is really cool. To see how a movement works, this is great because you can see the different wheels moving slowly there. And this whole assembly is the minute hand, and it turns. And then underneath it is an hour hand, and it only tells the minutes and seconds. Now there's the Freak Diavolo, and I think they called it the Freak Phantom, as it was the blue one after that, which had a tourbillon. So right here, where the balance wheel was, it also spun around like a tourbillon. Those versions were a lot more expensive, and I think kind of overkill. They're cool. I think if you want the core sort of Freak experience, the Freak Cruiser is the best way to go. I'm going to put it on and show you some more features. I just want to explain sort of one of the major reasons the Freak Cruiser is an improvement over the Freak. First of all, if you look at the crystal, it looks like a normal watch crystal. That's because it is. The original Freaks actually had a pin going right through the entire watch to secure essentially the movement in place. That's the only way they could do it. And it was kind of strange to have a pin going right through the entire watch like that. That affected, you know, the aesthetics and of course the water resistance. And so the first Freak wasn't really at all water resistant. This is water resistant to 30 meters, which is not a lot by any means, but is something. It gives you an ability to wash your hands with it and not freak out or anything like that, which is great. Of course, it also has some redesigned elements as well, which are nice, a different bezel and some other designs. So let me show you how you adjust and wind the watch. As you can see, there are no crowns on the Freak Cruiser. There's this little tab right here that you flip up. You see, I just flipped it up there, and then you can turn the bezel, which adjusts the time. And it's actually remarkably legible because you could see the big sort of boomerang there sort of for the hour hand, and then the smaller one for the minute hand. And it's very attractive in terms of reading the time. I just find it easy to tell the time despite having this very avant-garde dial. There's a ring down there with the Arabic numerals for the hour markers, which I think it's on a separate sapphire crystal ring around the bezel. Just makes it very nice. I really like it. Again, at first it was very weird to me, but it's such a great execution of the concept where you have sort of the visible movement, the silicon parts, very easy to see, and it's actually legible. Now, winding the movement is a slightly different scenario. The good news is that the movement, which is the in-house made UN 205, has a long power reserve of about 7 or 8 days, which is quite long. And you can see right here the Ulysse Nardin logo here, trying to get in the right light, is actually a piece of silicon. So as you can see, there's a sort of open window right there. And what that does is act as sort of like a power reserve indicator, because what you're looking at is the mainspring. There's just one big mainspring in there. And seeing how sort of wound it is allows you to know more or less how much power is left. It's not precise in the sense you're not seeing a power reserve where it tells you exactly how many days, but you more or less know being able to see it. Now, to wind it, you have to turn this back. And you have to turn it a lot of times. And to be honest, it kind of sucks to do it manually, like doing it like this, because you have to turn it many times. But there's a trick I found. There's a tool, it's one of these. This is actually a tool to help unscrew or screw down case backs, but you just use it like this, and you can turn and actually wind the watch very easily, which I found is a great technique, because once a week when you want to do this, you have to turn it a fair number of times. So you'd be sitting here with this ball for maybe 20 seconds doing it, but you'd be sitting there for a few minutes trying to wind it. So now I've wound it a little bit, and let's take a look. You can see that that spring is much more wound, but not completely wound, so I could do it even more. So that's how you sort of set the time and wind the watch, which is cool. Let's get on the wrist. I love this thing. It's a large watch. The Freak Cruiser is 45 millimeters wide. So it wears substantially, but it's actually quite comfortable on the wrist. There's a nice sort of gapless integration between the strap and the case. The case, like I said, is 45 millimeters wide. This version, 18 karat rose gold. There's a white gold version. I don't think there's been any steel freaks, but there's definitely been different precious metal versions. Inside here, there's a sort of vulcanized rubber black bezel there, which is, I think, introduced on the Diavolo originally, which is interesting. And again, they've sort of evolved the design over time. If you're looking for a high-end avant-garde watch that says, hey, I'm into watch movements, but I'm not going to get the thing that everyone else likes, and I'm not particularly conservative, this is a great way to go. It's not a futuristic watch, but it's definitely a sort of watch movement lover's watch. And it's got a great, it's just great to look at. You know, you not only see the different materials there and the way that the bridges and all the parts put together are designed, but you get to sort of see the technology. You get to see the different materials. And actually, you get to just actually view how mechanical watch movement works. If you understand what you're looking at, you can see that this is regulating power, this is transferring power. You see these gears turning at different rates, which turn the minute hand, once around the dial each hour. And so you get a good appreciation of how a mechanical watch works just by looking at the Freak Cruiser on your wrist. So again, this is Ulysse Nardin Freak Cruiser. This particular version is in 18 karat rose gold. It's not a limited edition, but it is individually numbered, and you can see on the side of the case here, most Ulysse Nardin watches have this little plaque which tells you their individual serial number, or if it's a limited edition, it'll say one out of or whatever number out of how many total. Great watch, not cheap at all, but I think this should definitely be on a lot of people's grail list, or sort of if you are a high-end collector, it would be hard to see a fully well-versed collection without some type of freak in there. And it's just it's an interesting thing that I'm really happy Ulysse Nardin has kept going for almost 15 years now. So the retail price of the Ulysse Nardin Freak Cruiser in 18 karat rose gold is $87,500, and you can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch soon. Thanks.